First contact gone wrong. The Varaxian war fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, their obsidian ships reflecting the cold light of Earth's sun. On the command deck of the Desolation, the massive flagship that had overseen the conquests of 17 worlds, Fleet Commander Zarek observed the blue planet with 6 cold, calculating eyes. Another primitive world, he remarked, mandibles clicking with anticipation. Atmospheric analysis confirms it's resource-rich. Preliminary scans show rudimentary satellite defenses and scattered military installations. Sub-Commander Vex approach, her exoskeleton gleaming under the bridge lights. The indigenous species calls themselves humans. Their technology is centuries behind ours. They still use fossil fuels and have only recently achieved limited space travel. Zarek's mouthparts twisted into what passed for a smile among the Varaxians. Excellent. This conquest will be swift. We'll begin with standard protocol. Destroy their largest military installations, then their seats of government. Once their leadership structure collapses, we'll move in ground forces to secure resource extraction sites. The Varaxian Armada had conquered 17 worlds across 3 star systems. Their process was methodical, efficient, and brutal. No species had ever mounted an effective resistance once the Varaxian war machine was set in motion. Deployment in 30 minutes, Zarek announced. Target their primitive defense installations first. At No-80 headquarters beneath Cheyenne Mountain, alarms blared as radar operators stared in disbelief at their screens. General Harris. Lieutenant Colonel Sophia Chen called out, her voice steady despite the chaos erupting around her. Multiple objects just appeared in orbit. They're massives, sir, and they're not ours. General Marcus Harris moved quickly to the main display, his weathered face illuminated by the red warning lights. 27 years in the Air Force had prepared him for many things, but not this. Status of the objects, he demanded. Holding position at 22,000 miles above Earth, we're detecting energy signatures unlike anything in our database. They're powering up something, sir. Harris didn't hesitate. Get me the president. Now. And issue DFCON-1 alerts to all commands. Whatever those things are, they didn't come all this way for a friendly chat. Within minutes, military commands worldwide were scrambling fighter jets, activating missile defense systems, and preparing for the unthinkable. Humanity's first contact with extraterrestrial life appeared to be hostile. The first Varaxian energy beams lanced down from orbit, targeting military bases across North America, Europe, and Asia. The devastation was immediate and catastrophic. Entire installations vanished in blinding flashes of light. In Washington, Beijing, Moscow, and other capitals, leaders watched in horror as their most sophisticated weapons proved useless against the alien assault. But Zarek and his commanders had made a critical error. They had targeted only the most visible military installations, missing the submarines lurking in the depths, the hidden bunkers, and the distributed defense networks that humanity had built during decades of preparing for war with itself. And they had fundamentally misunderstood human psychology. Humans don't seem to be surrendering, Sub-Commander Vex noted with confusion as the attack entered its 5th hour. Their communications channels are alive with coordination, not panic. They're adapting their tactics. Zarek dismissed her concerns. Primitive species often take time to comprehend their defeat. Deploy the second wave. Target their population centers next. But as the Varaxian ships repositioned for the second wave, something unexpected happened. Nuclear submarines, hidden beneath the ocean's surface, launched a coordinated counterattack. Dozens of intercontinental ballistic missiles streaked upward, their trajectories carefully calculated to converge on the alien vessels. Incoming projectiles, a Varaxian sensor operator announced, surprise evident in his usually emotionless voice. Primitive nuclear weapons. Deflector shields at full power. Zarek watched with contempt as the primitive missiles approached. The Varaxians had faced such weapons before, and their shields had always held. But these missiles were different. At the last moment, They split apart, releasing thousands of small metal fragments, a simple yet ingenious countermeasure developed during the Cold War to defeat missile defense systems. The Varaxian shields, calibrated to repel concentrated energy blasts, found themselves overwhelmed by the sheer volume of impacts coming from multiple directions. 3 Varaxian destroyers suffered catastrophic breaches before they could recalibrate their shields. The vessels exploded in spectacular fireballs, sending shockwaves through the Varaxian command structure. "Impossible," Zarak roared, his mandibles clicking rapidly in agitation. How could primitives cause such damage? The answer came swiftly as human fighter jets, launched from hidden airfields, engaged the lower-altitude Varaxian scout ships. The human pilots, though hopelessly outmatched technologically, displayed a reckless courage and adaptability that bewildered the Varaxian pilots, whose rigid training had never prepared them for opponents who would willingly sacrifice themselves to achieve tactical objectives. "They're using their aircraft as weapons," Vex reported, her voice tinged with disbelief as another scout ship spiraled downward, a human fighter embedded in its hull. "They're deliberately colliding with our vessels." By the end of the first day, the Varaxians had destroyed significant portions of Earth's visible military infrastructure, but at a cost that stunned Zarak and his war council. 11 vessels lost, almost 5% of their invasion force. "We've underestimated them," Vex admitted as they regrouped. "Their technology is primitive, but their tactics are unorthodox, and they show no fear." Zarek's rage was palpable. "No species resists the Varaxian armada. Prepare a full assault. We will crush these humans completely." But even as he gave the order, a seed of doubt had been planted. The Varaxians had never encountered a species like humans before, a species that, when faced with overwhelming force, didn't cower or surrender but instead fought back with greater ferocity. As night fell across Earth, humanity prepared for the battle of its existence. In underground bunkers, emergency sessions of governments worldwide put aside generations of conflict to face a common enemy. Scientists worked feverishly to understand the alien technology from debris recovered from downed ships. Military strategists developed new tactics, knowing conventional warfare would not be enough. "They hit us hard," General Harris told the Emergency Security Council, assembled in the Presidential Emergency Operations Center beneath the White House. "But they don't know humans very well. They think they've seen our best. They haven't seen anything yet." The counteroffensive. Dawn broke over a changed Earth. Smoke rose from destroyed military bases and research facilities. Millions had perished in the initial assault, yet instead of descending into chaos, humanity rallied. Old enemies became allies overnight. Resources were pooled, information shared freely across borders that had once been heavily guarded. In a hardened bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains, Dr. Eleanor Kim examined fragments of a downed Varaxian scout ship, her eyes widening as she began to understand the principles behind their technology. "Their energy weapons," she explained to the assembled military and scientific leaders, pointing to detailed schematics, "operate on principles we've theorized but never implemented. Directed plasma contained within electromagnetic fields. But there's a vulnerability in the containment mechanism. If we can generate a specific electromagnetic pulse frequency, we might be able to disrupt their weapon systems." Similar breakthroughs were happening across the globe. In Bangalore, engineers reverse-engineered components of Varaxian communication systems. In Moscow, physicists analyzed the aliens' shield technology. In Tokyo, computer scientists worked to decrypt Varaxian transmissions. The Varaxians, meanwhile, prepared for what they believed would be the final assault. Their remaining fleet, still an overwhelming force, moved into position for a coordinated strike against Earth's remaining military assets and major population centers. "The humans continue to resist," Sub-Commander Vex reported. "They've dispersed their forces and evacuated many population centers. Their communications suggest they're attempting to develop countermeasures." Zarak dismissed her concerns. Their primitive technology cannot hope to match ours. Begin the final assault. Leave nothing standing. The second wave of the Varaxian attack commenced with devastating force. Energy beams scoured the Earth's surface, leveling cities and military installations. Ground forces began landing in strategic locations to secure key resources. But the humans were ready. As Varaxian dropships descended on the outskirts of Shanghai, they were met not by disorganized resistance, but by a coordinated defense using hastily modified weapons. Chinese scientists had adapted their electromagnetic pulse generators based on Dr. Kim's findings, creating devices that disrupted the Varaxians' energy weapons and communication systems. Similar scenes played out globally. In the skies over Europe, fighter jets equipped with missiles modified to emit specific frequencies tore through Varaxian scout ships. From submarines in the Pacific, specially calibrated torpedoes struck at the vulnerable propulsion systems of the alien capital ships, systems identified through analysis of debris from the first day's battle. Most surprisingly to the Varaxians, humans had managed to create crude but effective replicas of Varaxian energy weapons, mounting them on their most advanced fighter aircraft and naval vessels. How is this possible? Zarak demanded as reports of mounting losses flooded in. They couldn't possibly have developed countermeasures so quickly. But they had. Human scientists, working around the clock and sharing information instantaneously across global networks, had achieved in days what would have taken years under normal circumstances. The desperation of facing extinction had accelerated innovation beyond anything the Varaxians had anticipated. The tide began to turn. Varaxian ground forces, expecting to face primitive projectile weapons, found themselves outmaneuvered by human forces using guerrilla tactics and adaptive strategies. Human soldiers, though physically weaker than the insectoid Varaxians, displayed a level of individual initiative and creative problem-solving that the hierarchical Varaxian military structure couldn't match. They don't fight like any species we've encountered. Vex observed as footage showed human resistance fighters using the environment and improvised weapons to devastating effect. Each human seems capable of independent thought and action, even when cut off from command. The Varaxian commanders had expected a centralized resistance that would collapse once leadership was eliminated. Instead, they faced a distributed network of fighters who continued adapting and fighting even when their commanders fell. By the third day, the Varaxian advance had stalled. Their ground forces were taking heavy casualties, and their air superiority was being challenged by increasingly sophisticated human countermeasures. In orbit, Zarak faced a mutiny as his sub-commanders questioned the wisdom of continuing the invasion. "We've lost nearly 20% of our fleet," Sub-Commander Vex argued. "The resource acquisition no longer justifies the cost. We should withdraw and reassess." Zarak's rage at the suggestion was terrible to behold. "No species has ever defeated the Varaxian armada. We will not retreat before these primitives." His obstinance would prove costly. As the Varaxians prepared for a third wave of attacks, humanity launched its first coordinated global counteroffensive. From hidden bases across the planet, thousands of aircraft rose, equipped with reverse-engineered weapons and protected by crude but effective shield technology. From the oceans, submarines and naval vessels unleashed salvos of modified missiles designed to penetrate Varaxian defenses. And from a secret facility in the Gobi Desert, humanity revealed its most audacious achievement, a massive electromagnetic pulse generator built according to captured Varaxian specifications, but modified by human engineers to operate at unprecedented power levels. When activated, the device sent a precisely calibrated pulse into orbit, temporarily disabling the systems of the Varaxian fleet. In the precious minutes of vulnerability that followed, waves of human missiles struck the alien vessels with devastating precision. The desolation itself shuddered as multiple impacts breached its hull. Fires broke out across the massive flagship as life support systems failed and artificial gravity fluctuated. "We're losing the fleet," Vex shouted over the alarms. "Commander, we must retreat." Zarak, witnessing the unthinkable collapse of his invasion force, finally gave the order. All vessels, emergency hyperspace jump, retreat coordinates Alpha 9. But for many Voraxian ships, the order came too late. By the time the surviving vessels managed to escape into hyperspace, over 40% of the once mighty armada had been destroyed or disabled. On Earth, exhausted defenders watched the remaining alien ships vanish from their sensors, hardly daring to believe what they had accomplished. In command centers across the globe, celebrations erupted as the realization spread. Humanity had repelled the invasion. Yet amid the jubilation, General Harris and other leaders knew the battle wasn't over. "They'll be back," he warned the president. "And next time, they'll be ready for our countermeasures. We need to prepare." In orbit, the disabled Voraxian vessels drifted, their crew either dead or captured. Human spacecraft, hastily retrofitted with new propulsion systems based on alien technology, moved to secure these prizes, each one a treasure trove of advanced technology that would accelerate human development by centuries. The invasion that was meant to subjugate Earth had instead unleashed its potential in ways no one could have predicted. The Galactic Revelation. 6 months after the Voraxian retreat, Earth was transformed. The shared trauma of alien invasion had united humanity like nothing in its history. International borders, while still existing on maps, had become increasingly meaningless as a unified global defense force emerged. The technology salvaged from captured Voraxian vessels had sparked a revolution. Humans now had rudimentary faster-than-light communication, the beginnings of gravity manipulation technology, and energy generation systems far beyond what had existed before the invasion. In a massive underground facility beneath the Atlantic Ocean, Dr. Eleanor Kim led the team retrofitting Earth's first FTL-capable vessel, built around the salvage drive core of a Voraxian warship. "We're ready for the test firing," she announced to the assembled military and scientific observers. "If successful, this will put us within striking distance of what we believe to be Voraxian space." General Harris, now commander of Earth's unified defense force, nodded. "Proceed, Doctor. It's time we took the fight to them." The test was successful beyond their wildest expectations. Within weeks, a small fleet of Earth vessels, hybrid creations combining Voraxian technology with human innovation, was ready for deployment. But before they could launch their counterattack, an unexpected development occurred. Multiple hyperspace signatures detected, reported the officer monitoring Earth's newly established early warning network. Configuration unknown, not Voraxian. Instantly, defense forces worldwide went on high alert. Had the Voraxians returned with allies? 3 sleek vessels emerged from hyperspace, their design utterly unlike the angular Voraxian ships. Where Voraxian vessels were black and intimidating, these were silver and almost elegant. They made no aggressive moves, instead broadcasting on all frequencies in multiple Earth languages. "People of Earth, we come in peace. We are the Galactic Confederation, an alliance of spacefaring species. We wish to establish diplomatic contact." Suspicious but cautious, Earth's leaders agreed to meet with the representatives of this Galactic Confederation. The meeting took place on neutral ground, a space station hastily constructed in orbit using salvaged Voraxian technology. The alien representatives were diverse, some humanoid, others utterly foreign in appearance. Their leader, Ambassador Thelara, resembled a tall, slender human with iridescent skin that shifted colors as she spoke. "We have been observing your conflict with the Voraxians," she explained to the assembled human delegation. "Your victory was unexpected. The Voraxians have conquered 17 worlds before yours. None offered successful resistance. Why didn't you help us?" demanded General Harris, not bothering to hide his anger. "Millions died." Thelara's skin rippled with what might have been regret. "The Confederation has a policy of non-intervention with pre-FTL species. The Voraxians are not members of our alliance, but are tolerated so long as they confine their aggression to non-spacefaring worlds. Your world was considered expendable. The human delegates bristled at this casual dismissal of their species. However, Thillera continued, "Your unexpected resistance and subsequent technological leap have changed your status. You now qualify for contact and, potentially, membership in the Confederation." Dr. Kim leaned forward. "And what about the Varaxians? They'll return with a larger force. Will your Confederation stand with us then?" Thillera's expression was difficult to read. "The Confederation avoids direct military confrontation. Our strength lies in diplomacy and trade, not war." The implications were clear. Humanity would face the Varaxian return alone. General Harris stood, his expression resolute. "Then we'll be ready for them ourselves. But we'd be interested in this trade you mention. We have questions about certain technologies." The meeting concluded with the establishment of preliminary diplomatic relations. The Confederation representatives departed, promising to return with trade delegations and information about the wider galactic community. Once they were gone, Earth's leaders convened to discuss this new development. "They're afraid," Dr. Kim observed. "Not just of the Varaxians. They're afraid of us. Did you see how they reacted when I showed them our modifications to the Varaxian shield technology? We improved it in ways they hadn't considered." General Harris nodded grimly. "They expected to find a devastated world ready to accept any terms for protection. Instead, they found us preparing a counteroffensive." The president's eyes narrowed. "Then we continue as planned. We accept their diplomatic overtures and trade opportunities, but we also proceed with our defense preparations. Humanity will determine its own destiny among the stars." 6 months later, the anticipated Varaxian return materialized. A fleet 3 times the size of the original invasion force emerged from hyperspace, led by a massive dreadnought that dwarfed even the desolation. But Earth was ready. A defensive perimeter of satellites equipped with energy weapons and shield technology created a formidable barrier. Behind this, Earth's hybrid fleet waited, supplemented by thousands of fighters and smaller craft. On the bridge of the dreadnought, Supreme Commander Zarak's replacement after his failure, surveyed the human defenses with grudging respect. "They've advanced quickly," he noted, "but they cannot match our numbers or firepower. Begin the attack." The Varaxian fleet moved forward, only to halt in confusion as hundreds of hyperspace windows opened around Earth. Through them emerged a diverse array of vessels, representing species from across the Galactic Confederation. "This is Ambassador Thillera of the Galactic Confederation," came the transmission on all frequencies. "The species known as humans are now under consideration for Confederation membership. Any attack on their world will be considered an act of war against all Confederation species." The Varaxian commanders were stunned. The Confederation had never before intervened in their conquests. What the Varaxians didn't know was that the Confederation ships had arrived not out of altruism but fear. Fear of what humanity might become if left to develop independently. The Confederation leaders had observed humanity's rapid adaptation of Varaxian technology and recognized a potential future threat far greater than the Varaxians had ever posed. Better, they had decided, to bring these dangerous humans into the fold where they could be monitored and controlled. Supreme Commander Zarak, faced with the combined might of Earth's defenses and the Confederation fleet, made a strategic decision. "We withdraw for now," he ordered. "But this matter is not settled." As the Varaxian fleet retreated into hyperspace, celebrations erupted across Earth. The immediate threat had passed, and humanity had gained powerful allies. Yet in secure briefing rooms, Earth's leaders viewed the development with mixed emotions. "The Confederation isn't protecting us out of kindness," General Harris observed. "They're afraid of what we might become." "And they should be," Dr. Kim replied, bringing up schematics of her latest project. A drive system that would make their ships faster and more maneuverable than anything in known space. "We've only just begun." The president nodded slowly. "We'll join their confederation, learn everything we can from them. But we'll never forget that when we faced extinction, we stood alone. Humanity's future security will depend on no one but ourselves." In the decades that followed, Humanity expanded through their solar system and beyond, always advancing, always innovating. They became valued members of the Galactic Confederation, contributing technologies and ideas that transformed interstellar commerce and communication. But they never lost the edge that the Varaxian invasion had given them, a relentless drive to improve, to adapt, to survive against any odds. Their military remained the most formidable of any Confederation species, their ships the most advanced, their tactics the most unpredictable. The Varaxians never again attempted a direct invasion of Earth or its colonies. The cost had been too high, the outcome too uncertain. Throughout the galaxy, a new saying emerged among spacefaring species: beware the humans. They turn today's defeat into tomorrow's victory. For a species that had nearly been casually exterminated as primitives, it was perhaps the greatest victory of all. The end.